that's all. Before that no Forest play. Come join Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. This is part 2 of our transfer deadline day special. I'm Greg Oram, of course, and joining me this time, I've got with me Raf, the Random Pundit. We may have one or two others dropping in over the next hour. All depends on availability, but the window is now closed. It's an hour shut. We've just gone past 8 o'clock. So this hour is going to be about what actually has happened, the deals that have gone through, the ones that didn't, and where this leaves the club going forwards. Raf, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Welcome on. You feeling okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. To be honest, I've had a bit of a renaissance of trying to be a 25-year-old all over again for the last 4 days, starting with the Fred and Varish game on the Thursday, up doing lots of other bits and pieces. Thought, oh, do you know what? I'll get myself back from the nav, go back to the hotel, and then met some absolutely brilliant Scottish and Welsh fans and a Rangers fan as well, and ended up talking about goodness knows what to about 4:30 in the morning. And then crawled back down to London, and it hasn't stopped, and I haven't really got much more sleep since then until this morning. So now kind of back into the land of the living.
Fantastic. You take me back to my party days of yesteryear. It's good to see you still going, mate. Well done. So the window's closed, and we've been chatting in our group and in person and so on about what we need and what we should be signing and who we should be targeting. And as ever, there's always a circus around Forest because they've not been shy in signing players since we came back into the Premier League. And so I guess you could say that on reflection, this one now looks like definitely the quietest window since we've been back in the Premier League. It looks like just the 3 signings this window and only one, in fact, on transfer deadline day. So just to quickly summarise, it's Lorenzo Luca through the door. We know about him, the tall Italian on loan from Napoli. German goalkeeper Stefan Ortega has signed on a permanent deal to the end of the season from Manchester City. Hopefully he will show us his true attributes, and we may be looking to extend his deal. And of course, today's big news is that we have captured, it looks like, a left back in the guise of Luca Netz from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Still waiting for an official announcement from the club, but it looks like it's a done deal. It feels like this one has got over the line. Should be wearing a number 25 shirt. A reporter from Germany was saying earlier. Medical done in Germany, flying over tomorrow. So three signings done, Raf. Sum up how you feel about the window for Forest, mate.
It's, you know what, chatting about it, and I've been moving around through emotions as the day's gone on, and there's always that phrase, it's the hope that kills you, but actually taking a step away, I take some quite strong positives and some strong negatives in many aspects of this window. If I start with the club, I think we have happened to accident our way to actually a good outcome from the window. I struggle to believe, especially when you hear Dyche saying, oh, mate, they've literally been talking about targets for months with everyone. Everyone's joined up and we're doing all of this. And yeah, okay, Fratesi, Oliveira, or these others, there has to be plan B and C and D that you have in some way actually looked at it being progressed. You can't be on the eve of deadline day going to clubs for what are supposedly your targets for a first bid for them to go, we're not interested in talking to you. Like, that is schoolboy as far as I'm concerned. And that shows the fact that something up the top is still not working at all. It half feels like and I'm not saying this is the case, but something wasn't working. There was a change in the structure on the last day, and someone was said, right, actually sort this all out now, please. And then there was a lot of frenetic activity of what we were seeing, unless there was so many other names that were rejected by us over the last 2 weeks that we didn't hear of because you didn't have the coverage on a Sky deadline day or whatever it might be. But where we've got to is some amazing deals for players, saving a huge amount of money on wages of people that have gone out, not committing because quite a lot, Ortega is 5 months out of contract. He was going to be anyway. So that's 5 months and we just sign on a free or not. We've got Luca on a really inexpensive loan with an option to buy. And we're loving Luca's, aren't we? So Luca Nets, who's then come in with a fantastic footballing name. And he's on what is basically £1.1 million. Plus, then there's some performance bonuses, which bring it up to about 2.5 million and in euros. And those are apparently very attainable with a sell-on fee. So all of that is super low risk activity, which is exactly what we need. And the other thing is, having spectacularly failed with some bid that we were trying very publicly today, we haven't done an Old Forest, then panicked, and then brought in some has-been or someone else on a huge amount of money or huge amounts of wages. So from that perspective, we've saved grace, and we've actually got to quite a good position, I would say, of where we are. And actually, we've got stability for a team that in the last 4 games, we've got people back from injury. Everyone seems to be on, the vibes are up, the results are up, everyone's pulling together. And actually, we're not now destabilizing the locker room again by a whole lot of bodies that are coming through the door. So that's kind of my summary of some of my ups, my downs, I think by a happy accident, we've had an overall, for the benefit of this season, minor win in the window.
In the last 2 or 3 minutes, Nottingham Forest have officially announced the signing of Luca Nets from Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully it will pop up for everyone to see. There it is. Nets signs for Forest. I'll scroll down. It says Nottingham Forest are pleased to confirm the signing of Luca Nets. He's joined on a 4.5-year deal until the summer of 2030. The 22-year-old, he came through the academy at Hertha Berlin, joined Gladbach in 2021. He's played 124 times for the Bundesliga side, predominantly a left-back. Nets also has the ability to impact the game going forwards, registering 18 assists during his time at Gladbach. So I could read on and on, but I'm sure everyone's going to go to the website themselves. It's on the Forest website now. Go and check it out. Just to say that Edu Gaspar, the global head of football, has said a part of the model is to add talented young players to the squad that can grow with us. Despite his age, Luke has played well over 100 times at the highest level in Germany. So we are signing a player with a good blend of potential and experience. With the ability to play on the left side, Luca brings balance to our team, and we are all looking forward to seeing him settle in Nottingham and contribute for the rest of the season and beyond. So confirmation once again that Luca Nets is now a Nottingham Forest player and has joined on a 4.5-year deal from Borussia Mönchengladbach. It's always nice and shiny. I said this to Richard earlier, when the window opens and you think, we're going to sign some new players. And we were very spoiled over the windows we've had from Mr. Marinakis, making real intentions clear. He's an ambitious man. But it felt like this was quite a pragmatic window in many ways. And you said maybe we've kind of fluked our way into having a sensible window. We were looking to sign the lad from Celtic, Arne Engels. 3 bids went in for him. So they were clearly targeting a midfielder, Raf, because there was Fratesi who was going to come. He wasn't, didn't come. There was the captain of Middlesbrough, Hackney, who was all of a sudden coming out of nowhere this morning. The Japan lad as well, who, again, was just a random kind of link that we had never heard of before. So kind of a little bit of Old Forest creeping in, but New Forest in, like you said, not maybe pursuing these deals to the very end in a desperate bid to get people over the line. What was your number one priority this window, Raf, for Forest?
I think with the news that Savona's knee may need surgery, and if it doesn't, it still
Have they
doesn't
said
sound
that?
particularly.
I've not heard that. Is that what
Yeah,
they've said?
that's what I've heard. He may again, but again, if you were in the conversation that someone might need surgery on a knee, even if you don't, that can't sound great.
Right.
And so when you're at that juncture, the priority had to be a fullback coming in, and we're going to see at Leeds with Nico suspended, the fragility of what we've got at those fullback positions, with one injury causing actually a bit of chaos within that position. I was originally thinking it's the midfield that really needed an extra body and hopefully a bit of goals and some dynamism out in the midfield, box crashing ability. But I'd actually, as really finding out about Savona, and also he's quite junior as well in age, not that experienced. So I think the fullback position ended up being the priority, having got Luca, the striker, through the door earlier. That shifted away from needing that striker.
Although it looked like we were trying to get a second one, how much do you really think we were going after a second striker? How much now, I suppose, with the grace of hindsight, were we really seriously trying to sign Mateta? I mean, noises coming out of Forest that we were, but they didn't back it up once that deal seemed to die by going hard after someone else. So what do you make of that? What's your take on the striker situation? Are you happy, Raf, with Luca, Igor Jesus, and Taiwo Awoniyi?
So what I think the Mateta deal was opportunistic to go, this is a player that we can get that Palace are having to sell, and we are going to get them at a price that we wouldn't be able to get that level of quality elsewhere. One would hope, having got the best track record in the world, that our medical department would pick up that he's got a croc knee, and he wouldn't have been signed anyway. But I think it was opportunistic. There's definitely noises that are out there that Taremi has always been the plan as that second striker. I mean, that's come from Ornstein, that's come from lots of other people as well. They even got Clayton over from Rio Ave to then Ollie as well, assigning a winger, so it became more plausible that Taremi could move. But with some of their injuries, and also the fact that Ollie are still in the Champions League, I think the fact that made the fact that it would have been really unpalatable with the fans for Marinakis to pull Taremi and pull him over here on a loan. But I think that was always the plan until last game week in Champions League. And so I think that probably changed that dynamic a bit. Plus, Taiwo scored the best goal. He's probably not the most important, but probably the best technical goal that he scored for us only a week ago. And we know the sounds coming out of the club that, you know, Dyche, Wone and Stone really like what they see from Taiwo in training. So suddenly, although we've lost Wood, Taiwo, which no one, well, I didn't, and I'm a massive Taiwo fan, gave no credence that he'd be a feature for us this season. We just couldn't sell him in the summer because he was still injured. Otherwise, he would have gone. Is actually now becoming a viable option that we can get on in certain games for certain game states, right? But Luca's an unknown quality, but he gives us something different. So it's effectively Callum Wando out and Luca in. Wood still injured, don't know how long that's for, but probably for the majority of the season. And Taiwo becoming more useful as a third striker. We don't really need to carry more than three strikers. And I think that was the intention at the beginning of the season. I don't know how much we backed Taiwo to be anything. So we had the three strikers in Wood, in Callum Wendo and Jesus. And we kind of have three strikers now that we're looking at, with Wood injured, but Taiwo coming online. So there's a bit of shifting around. Do I think that's weaker than what we started with at the very beginning of the season? Yes, I think it is. From having Wood, Jesus and Callum Wendo to what we've got now. Is it stronger than what we had coming into this window? TBC, Callum Wendo versus Luca. But what we can say is, for the way that Dyche plays the game at the moment, so for this half of the season, I don't find it difficult to believe that Luca will be more useful to us in how we play.
Yeah, it's about profile, isn't it? And you talk about the usage of Taiwo. I was talking to Richard in the first part earlier about yesterday's game. And when Jesus was getting subbed off, I saw Ndoye getting readied, and I said to Orlando, looks like Ndoye's coming on. I think it's going to be for Igor Jesus. And he said, why did you bring in Ndoye on when we've got Taiwo and Lorenzo Luca on the bench? I certainly didn't think Luca would come on. As soon as the red card was shown, I thought that his debut is not going to be today. You know, it's not going to be the right kind of profile, I thought, to bring him on. But I thought Taiwo would come on. I thought Taiwo would be the one that would come on. And for all the reasons that I've already mentioned, just very quickly, you know, the goal against Brentford, his pace is good still. His strength is very good. So I kind of felt yesterday that that was a good game for him to come on, but he didn't get asked to come on. So he kind of left me scratching my head a little bit. But again, I was thinking, are they trying to move him out? Are they trying to bring another striker in? But we are left with Lorenzo Luca and Igor Jesus and Taiwo. It's the Luca question, I guess, that everyone is now looking at, because his goals this season have been 1 in 16 appearances for Napoli. He has scored goals previously. I was looking at his wagon wheel with Richard earlier. You know, his shot quality is quite good, but his expected goals are quite low. I asked Richard earlier what in his head was the best case scenario of what we get out of Lorenzo Luca. So this season. What do you think about that? In your eyes, what would be the best case scenario in terms of output you'd want to see from Lorenzo Luca?
Oh, he scores the winning goal in the Europa League final.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we'd all say that.
Powers it in. Bosh, we all knew it was going to happen. Brilliant. We win the cup. We're in Champions League next year. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of asking you more about, you know, over the period of games in the Premier League.
All right, so we've got how many left? 14 games left, 15 games
Something
left?
like that,
Yeah. Okay, plus hopefully a good few more European games, Europa games. And we'll come on to what is actually now a very simple equation when everyone was getting their knickers in a twist as to who's going to go in and out of the Europa squad with only 3 changes. It's been made very simple from this window as to what that's going to be. So he will be, unless there's some form of madness, in the Europa squad. So I expect him to really enjoy playing in the Europa setup, where you've got a little bit of extra time around all the defenders as well, which we can see definitely to the benefit of Jesus, of how he feasts in Europa massively. So I think Premier League, 4 goals, possibly 4 goals in 14, 15 games. I think that's 1 in 3. I reckon he can probably score. But then again, it's how many games is he going to start compared to Jesus? I don't know. In Europa, I definitely would expect him to score every other game. And when I say every other game, I'm counting 90 minutes worth of games. If he's coming on for 20 minutes each time, that doesn't really count as a game to me.
Sure. I think he's got potential. And in terms of profile, very different from Callum Mwendo, height, physique. Very much going to be all about what he does in the air. Just interrupting myself. Luca Netz, a quote from him on his signing for Forest. I am ready for a new challenge and the next step in my career. I am extremely motivated to get started here and am incredibly excited about the first training sessions and matches at the City Ground in front of our fans. So a young player looking to get started, just going back to him, I guess looking at a fee as well. And this is kind of your area of expertise, Raf. A couple of million for 2.5 million for a young player who has been labelled almost like a generational talent. You know, he was coming in at Bayern Munich at one point potentially. I mean, if he shows up in the Premier League, his value could triple very, very quickly, very, very easily, couldn't it?
Yeah, and this is something that I talked about on X earlier when this deal came in, and I just was going, guys, in simple terms, this is a win-win, right? Because he comes in, if he's good, we've got someone in the last 6 months of their contract. Man United was sniffing around him, a number of clubs were sniffing around him, and we've got him for absolutely next to nothing. Not quite Ola Aina free, but not far off of it, right? And he's got potential to get better and better. And we've just sorted our succession planning along with Savona for fullbacks, basically, right? Which is absolutely brilliant. And Moriera, right? So So then we've actually kind of solved that problem for the next few years. If he's not that great, right, and he's not absolutely brilliant, that doesn't mean to say the fact that he can't smash it in the German league, right? Premier League is different from the German league, and he has that rep within Germany, and he's definitely seen to be future international at German level, right, for the national side, having done under 21s for them. So, and he's playing nearly 30 games consistently from the age of 18. He's been playing 30 games at league level. So if he doesn't 100% cut it at the Premier League, we can sell him back to the German league for 10 million quid. I would have no issue, no problems with that being the figure, I don't think. And our team is really good at selling as well. So when you couple those two things, we make a 500% profit on him, and he goes back to Germany. And then we just find someone else with all of the extra money that we've just made. So I think it's a win-win. And also, it's not, we haven't got a player that's 28 that is coming, that is expecting to play every single game ahead of Nico or ahead of Ola, and thus causing a bit of friction in the dressing room. So I think that actually, all things considered, and I don't know if this was plan A by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we have happily stumbled on a solution. Didn't end up being Oliveira. And by the way, if you have a look at this, if we think of the wages that Zinchenko that we were paying for, Luiz that we were paying for, Callum Wendo's wages as well, I reckon we have saved about 4.5 million quid in wages just over these last 5 months of the season. And I reckon just in wages, if we look at what the players that we've brought in today, or just generally, they've got to be on a half to a third of what Luiz and Zinchenko were on and what we were paying. So again, from a financial perspective and squad cost ratio, wages and everything are definitely a factor that's coming in as well. This is again another shrewd move to be able to, where we can, save money and then spend that money come the summer where we really need to, because Anderson's going. So we're going to have to spend big in midfield.
We will have you back on very soon to do an update with PSR, another episode where we can look at the picture and where we're at and what we know, and get your spreadsheet out again. So that'll be forthcoming at some point very soon, guys. So Luca Netz, sensible business, young player with a lot of games under his belt in the Bundesliga. Lorenzo Luca, another good, talented player who was attracted attention. I was saying to Richard earlier, I absolutely had no problem with him taking his time over the move. It's a big deal. I was saying, I think when you're moving clubs and countries, you know, you got options. He chose to come, so we have to embrace that and get behind him as well. And then the third signing that we did mention before, but we'll kind of want to dip back into, is Stefan Ortega. What do you make of that? I mean, we bought his contract out, so it's, again, low costing, an experienced goalkeeper, 33 years old, 6'1". He'd been at Man City as a very capable number 2, and I think if you play for Man City under Pep, you must be good. I really do think that. What do you think?
Yes. Some people have gone, oh gosh, Man City goalkeeper, they literally like playing at the back. It's playing out from the back. It's going to be kamikaze. Yes, but your primary function of being a keeper is shot stopping. And to get to Man City, you've got to be pretty good at doing that. But also, part of the skill set that is lauded for goalkeepers at Man City is distribution and creating opportunities very quickly as yourself, distributing the ball out. So they should be quite elite distributors of the ball. Now, I will say that I don't really know how good Ortega's distribution is, but I would imagine that it's definitely better than John's, just looking at his, of where it was going. And Sells' has been all right. It's not his massive strength, to be honest. So I don't think, and if you look at it, if we're basically getting him in for John, I would go that this is a massive upgrade in terms of the goalkeeping department.
Yeah, I think so too. And with Sells being injured now, and it's a recurrence of a groin injury, as you mentioned earlier, it kind of gives Sean Dyche kind of get out of jail free card come Friday when we play Leeds. Who plays in goal, Angus Gunn or Stefan Ortega. I mean, I think I'd go with Ortega if I'm honest with you. But having said that, Angus Dunn came on yesterday out of the blue, and he was fine. He was confident. He was fine. Didn't have a lot to do. I mean, they play without a striker, but when you go to Ellen Road, it's going to be a different kettle of fish altogether. What would you do on Friday, Raf?
So, if it was me, and when is the game again?
Friday.
Okay. He's got enough time. There's enough time to be able to get with the program, work with your defenders. I would put Ortega in, but this is Dyche, right? John came in, didn't have much to do, but because we didn't concede any goals, he kept his place, right? So the fact that Gunn's come in, hasn't had much to do, but we kept a clean sheet, even with 10 men, he might have earned the right in Dyche's ethos and code that he has to potentially keep the jersey. And you could very well justify that to say, look, Ortega's just through the door, so I don't particularly want to risk him, rather than saying I'm picking Gunn over Ortega. So he has an out to be able to do that very plausibly in the press.
If you're with us in the comments, please do hop in. Let us know your thoughts on Forest's business in this transfer window. We'll try and put some up. And if you've got any questions that you want answering or you want to pose and have a chat about, then please do put those questions and comments into the chat so we can see them. Like and subscribe as well, please. That would be great if you could support us with that. Follow us on X and TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. Okay, let's have a quick break.
This episode of Talking Reds is brought to you by The Cheese Trader. If you love proper cheese and you love Nottingham Forest, then this is the place for you. From rich, creamy blues to powerful charcoal cheddar, The Cheese Trader has the flavour to match every moment of the season. Whether you're celebrating a big win or drowning your sorrows after a tough loss, use the code Talking Reds for 10% off every order. The Cheese Trader on Grape Lane in York, owned by Forest fan Stu Freestow. Proper cheese, proper passion. Find them online today and join the cheese revolution.
You should know by now what to do when it comes to the cheese. All right. Crystal Palace have become one of our enemy clubs. I mean, you know, it's a bit bizarre, really, but the banter's there. I mean, they were singing their song yesterday and so on, and I really felt we'd win that game. But their business does feel like they are pushing panic buttons left, right, and centre. They've lost players. We know about Gurhi as he started the season. Mateta wanted out, and in fact, he hasn't got out, and he's still got this injury to his knee that he's going to have surgery on. They've announced the signing of Strand Larsen. They've already signed Brennan. Dwight McNeil's going there. 103 million on Brennan Johnson, Jorgen Strand Larsen, and Dwight McNeil. What do you make of that? I mean, I know this is a Forest pod, but this is the transfer deadline closing, and it's interesting to kind of look at what other clubs have done that are potential relegation rivals, because we are down there and we want to kind of suck them down with us. Do you think they've done enough to get them moving up the table, Raf?
It's an interesting one because I did single out them, and they're being very un-Palace right now. And I do think after Dougie Freeman left, things have started to unravel over there. What kept them alive in the Premier League and being perennially like 11th or 12th was finding lower league talent, bringing it through and selling it for absolutely truckloads of money, which they have done. You know, your kind of Elises, your Ezes, all of those really great names that they found. But you have a look at it. They basically got 92. The best part of 92.5 million euros for Gurhi and Eze, and they spent 108 million euros on, like you said, Brennan, Strand Larsen, and also Dwight McNeil. Thank goodness he didn't come to us because it looked like we were trying to buy him at one point. So from that perspective, you're kind of looking, it's kind of the same amount of money, like 10 million, 15 million difference. But between that, and you know what? Strand Larsen might come good, right? He's a very different player to Mateta, though. Brennan, love him to bits, I hope he comes good, right? Because he deserves to, but it's not as if he's pulling up trees at the moment, having started there. And also, he just suddenly brought in Dwight McNeil as well. Like Brennan's got to be looking over his shoulder, going, "What? Why are we doing that?" So, it's a really interesting state of where they are, and it does, like, use the word panic, Greg, and it does seem like there is a little bit of panic to break your transfer record by quite a lot on Strand Larson. And the amount of money was just going up and up and up from the original. It was clear as day. It was supposed to be 40 million quid when all this first started. And then it's ended up being 48 million quid. And it's like not a particularly good set of bargaining. They've now got Mateta, which I think they will send him out to have his knee fixed for two reasons. One, they need to sell him in the summer and they need to show the fact that he's fit again. But the second is, I don't think they want him anywhere near the club just because of what that will do to the dressing room. So actually getting him out to hospital and then having rehab somewhere else might be what they need to actually calm things down at the club. But it's a bit of a mess. But they've gambled. They spent an awful lot of money on 3 players. I mean, everyone was up in arms that we spent 200 million quid, but we got 13 players for it. They've spent over 100 and they've got 3 players for it. So, it's it swings and roundabouts as to how you see. Who knows what might happen? But what they didn't get in were any defenders, which they really, really did actually need. Yeah. So, hey ho, I think they'll get dragged into it very much with us. There would have been full-on paddock stations if we'd won the other day, but actually coming away with a point was amazing given the situation at halftime.
Yeah, considering that they didn't play with a striker, didn't look like scoring. A point for them was kind of sticks in the throat a little bit like my cough this evening. Apologies, guys. Crazy cat lady in the comments says, "Is anyone worried about PSR?" I'll ask Raf about that in just a moment, and I'll ask you to keep it quite brief, Raf, because we are going to do the PSR episode. But just
I've got one word answer. No.
There you go.
Absolutely not. Anderson's getting sold in the summer. That absolutely fixes everything, even if we tank the league and don't get that much further in Europe.
Okay, there you go. That's your answer in a nutshell. We'll do an in-depth PSR look, though, in the coming week or so. Cuibano, like he came and went. He's one of those that come and didn't play, and looks like Vasco da Gama are finalising the signing of Cuibano.
I don't think he's going.
Well, I mean, it's all over the X at the moment.
We've called it, apparently. Apparently, we've called him not going, which is weird. And I don't really know. I think it'll all shake out. But there's a little bit to this, and I actually hope he doesn't go.
What's your source on this?
It just various different threads that have come through, a few rumours from around the club, and some other bits. Now, the money that we were going to get for him was actually really good. We'd make a profit on him, and also we'd get a loan fee that pretty much paid Luca's loan fee. So actually, again, great business. Although, is it just a Forest player that we're getting in as a text of favour that we're flipping and then just going out? And if it was, it's not great from a human perspective whatsoever, but it's actually quite good club business. I hope we keep him. The guy has talent. He just doesn't play in any position that we use currently at the moment to his best ability. But by sending him out on loan the whole time, we can't mould him into the player that we really want him to be. And for me, that is either a fullback, which he's not. He's a wing back, pretty much, I would say, and a very attacking wing back with very little defensive positioning. Or we just go, do you know what? Don't fight your instincts. Let's turn you into an amazing striker, winger, and just turn him into a great winger. But we can't keep doing that if we send him out on loan.
But you can't say that because we've got no room in the squad for him. We just signed this.
Absolutely fine. He can. He's young. He can train for 6 months with Moriera, play in the B team. That's what they've chosen effectively with Abba. Although Abba can come in because of his age, but at the same time, if they're really keen about staying in the Premier League and developing, then just suck it up for 5 months and get your head down and train. And I think that is actually potentially maybe the best thing that they could do if he doesn't want to go back to Vasco. And also as well, Vasco, a massive rival of where he was and what his club is and where he was beforehand. So actually going to Vasco, I don't think he's massively keen to go. And us forcing him on another loan out there to then come back is not great for the relationship with the player.
Well, I'm if I was a Beck man, and I am, I think he will go. I don't think from what I heard that he wanted to come in the first place. He didn't want to leave Botafogo. He did, went back on loan. It all feels a bit messy with him. The whole Botafogo, John Textor thing, there's that relationship. That's a whole different podcast altogether. We won't get into that. But my gut feeling is, if you ask me personally, I think he'll go back. Nottingham Forest Academy are announcing Ben Hammond and Kyle McAdam have both joined Northampton Town on initial loan deals. So initial loan deals means that looks like there's a permanent option in there as well for a couple of the young lads as well. Talking about the squad, I mentioned this with Richard before. I'll talk to you about that now. The Premier League squad, they have to name this, I think, by the end of next week or something like that. It's quite close. So it looks like Sales, Gunn, Ortega, 3 keepers. Right backs, so your Savona and Ola Aina. Your left backs, Nets, this new lad, Nets and Williams. Your centre backs, Milenkovic, Bolly, Murillo, Morato. Midfield of Yates, Sangare, Gibbs, White, Anderson, Dominguez, McAtee. And then attack, Bakwa, Hudson-Odoi, Wood, Ndoye, Hutchinson, Jesus, Luca, and Taiwo Awoniyi. That's 25, plus Abbott and Jer Cunha as under 21s. It doesn't look like there's any other news breaking about any secret players or anyone else coming out of the woodwork. So it looks like that would be the 25-man squad. We think Wood's going to be out for the rest of the season. No one said that. We just think that because it's going on and on and on and on and on. But he would have probably have come out of the squad had there been maybe a midfielder coming in or maybe 1 or 2 other players coming in, and Wanyi's place was possibly in danger as well. So the Premier League squad looks fairly intact. What's your take on the Europa squad? Because we got those changes that we can make, the 3 of them. It looks to me like Luca's in for Calamawendo. It looks to me like Nets comes in place of Douglas Luiz. Yep. And then you want to get Hutchin. How do you get Hutchin?
If Wood will come back for any meaningful part of the season, and for that I mean be fit enough and not just be ready, but actually match fit, sharp, up and running, scoring goals in time for, say, semi-finals of Europa, then I would put him in the squad and I'd take Bolly out, and we'll come on to the Morato thing that happened today and how it links into that.
So, go on.
But otherwise, Bolly, if Wood will be fit, Bolly leaves. Otherwise, if Wood's not going to be fit all season, then you drop Wood out and you keep Bolly in the squad. But it's actually great. There's no one sitting on the side. And this is all about, this is stability. This is why we did so well last season, is stability. We're actually having no one in bond squads on the side that are not registered at all, causing a bit of a stink and everything else as well. Everything's getting to a bit more, again, through design, I don't know, or just by chance, but we're getting to a sense of squad stability.
And that's important, and consistency and stability is important. It kind of, again, goes back to trying to sign those midfielders in the way that we did on deadline day, trying to get a player out of Celtic or Middlesbrough who are challenging for their individual championship title. Never going to happen. Fratesi looked like he was coming, but didn't. Had there been another midfielder in, that would have made it interesting, I suppose, in terms of who stays out. And maybe Hutchinson wouldn't have made the squad. Maybe they said, you know what, he's not made it in the first round. He's not going to make it in the second round. But I do hope he gets a chance because, he kept his head down. He didn't let it get to him too much. I think Deitch certainly put his arm around his shoulder and helped that situation when he came in. And, of course, it wasn't Deitch's decision in the first place to leave him out. So it could have been he said, well, if I was here, I wouldn't have left you out. Don't worry. All those kind of things. I do hope Hutchinson gets a chance. In terms of players that are already at the club, I know this is a transfer deadline day episode. We're talking about incomings and outgoings. I want to get to Morato in just a moment. Who for you needs to arrive properly at Nottingham Forest still, out of those players that came in the summer. I mean, there's one player that sticks out straight away for me. I won't say it, but who out of the current crop that are still there hasn't yet laid down the marker that really needs to do so?
So for me, there are probably two players that I would go, do you know what? Well, if you ignore Curbano, for example, who's been out on loan.
Yeah, I'm not talking about him. No.
So I would go, there are two players that have got bags of talent. In their first couple of games, they both showed exactly what that talent was. And then for all the reasons of huge amounts of managerial change, being asked to do a million different things, both of these players have the capability to play in a defensive way, but also play in an attacking way. So you can imagine if you move from a Nuno to an Ange to a Dyche, what you're being told to do the entire time is going to change. And I think these two probably suffered the most out of changing instruction and training. And they're both wingers. It's Dan Doy and it's Bakwa. And for me, they're both amazing talents. And just players, for whatever reason, take different amounts of time to settle and find their groove. Okay. We've seen this with Hutchison. Now, no one wanted to sell McAtee when everyone wanted his head even like 4 weeks ago. But you could see him now suddenly coming online. Sangari's had his own problems. He's undroppable right now, but that's from a few seasons ago. But this is the first long shot at a set of games that he's had. And you see that he's now blossoming. And I do genuinely think they will blossom. It's just, if I'm being honest, we won't see potentially the best of them to the beginning of next season. But what I was super happy about was I would have thrown all my toys out of the pram if we'd sold anyone else from the players that were brought in over the summer. It's not what we needed. And if we're going to talk about, which we will do in a second, the decisions on the European squad and how they influence transfer strategy, I do think that the team had one arm tight behind their back, that they couldn't go bonkers and sign 10 players because we would have had no Europa squad left to play, basically.
Kind of has done that. It has made them maybe have sobered the mind a little bit. Yeah, for me, the player that stood out is Bakwa. It's an obvious choice. I suppose everyone listening would be saying, well, it's Bakwa. It hasn't got going. And Doy's had flashes, a couple of goals for the club, and lately come off the bench and played okay, did well on the European game. We know about McAtee's game against Ferencváros last week was good. So yeah, Bakwa's really got to show up. I hope he gets a chance to do that. I just don't know if players like him get another chance come the summer. If they get the summer and the club says, you know what, we see value in you. It hasn't been a great first season. It's been a real teething process for you, but we still believe in you. We want you to stay. And we think the second season, we're going to really see the best from you. I think that would be great if we could do that. I just don't know when the backs are to the wall, when you got people breathing down your neck, and you know what we are typically like in a window, especially a summer window, whether there's going to be a level of undoing and who's going to be the manager. I mean,
that thing, Greg, it's if a new manager comes in, they're going to want to run the rule over all the players and go, right, which are the ones that fit me? So you'll get a delay in anyone going out the door.
Yeah, and I wonder as well with the manager because Dyche's position has been under the spotlight because we started losing some games. But we have been also very solid lately. We are in the sort of top 2 or 3 in the Premier League of shots on goal, on our goal in terms of shutouts. Defensively, we've been really solid, but it's at the other end of the pitch, we are the worst in big chance creation. So that's got to change. But we're getting out of Sean Dyche, I guess what we kind of should have expected. And I think he's still adjusting himself. So I do have hopes over the next 14 games or so, whatever it may be, that we do see more chance creation at the same time as retaining our solidity at the back. We looked good yesterday against Palace, Raf. I was very happy in that first half. I was entertained at times, and not just at times, but for a lot of the time. You know, Sean Dyche proving that he can get his team of players, talented players, playing football on the floor. One player that came off the bench when we suffered the red card was our good friend Morato. Came on into centre back. Murillo goes to left back, which I was happier about. I think that for me suits us better. A late show of interest came. I think it was Wolfsburg, yeah, nearly at 17.3 million or thereabouts.
Yep.
I mean, if it had been earlier in the window, I could see possibly the club taking that money and trying to sign someone else. Do you reckon it was a case of too late for him to go? Would you have liked to see him go?
So, we did hear rumours that we were sniffing around a centre-back. Dunk was mentioned, maybe Collins as well. Like there was definitely some centre-backs that were being sniffed around. So, would I have been happier with... Right, let's talk Premier League. Right, so for Premier League, would I have been happier if Morato got switched out for someone else that is a senior, experienced defender? Yes and no. Yes, because actually, if something happened to M or M, then there's someone really senior that can come in and slot in, and it's not Morato. But currently, I am seriously jonesing for Giacunha and Abbott to get more time as well. So actually, by keeping Morato around, they have a larger chance of getting some minutes. So actually, I'm okay with it. When we think about then those three changes that can be made, if Morato had been sold and we got someone else in, there was no registering Giacunha. He still can't play in Europe, right? He's still an option of one of the three that could be put in, but I doubt that's going to happen. So then you are left with Abbott and Bolly, basically. Of which, by the way, if Wood's going to get fit, Bolly's the one that's getting removed. So you've literally got Abbott as your only then option at centre-back as a replacement. So at that juncture, or are you saying, oh my gosh, well, we can't actually register you, Wood, because we need to keep Bolly in? Like that would have gone down really well if he was coming back from injury after like 2 months. So I actually think once again, it's the Europa squad that has made the decision. And to be fair, right, Morato can get sold in the summer. And I don't think it'll take any particular value off of he's still got a really long contract, right? So it's not going to, I think we can still get 15, 17, 18 million quid for him. He's playing enough. And you've got anyone good at PR can just Morato time a video together and just put the, I mean, Danscape had that ticker. Remember we had that ticker of how long it had been just from Morato time, not conceding a goal, right? So you can easily do it. But you also target very well teams that play a back three. And he is excellent. Like he's very good in a back three because he can have his mental lapses that he has, and you're covered all round, and it's not as bad. He really can't play in a back two. And his aerial frailties. He's got better at heading the ball, but when it's obvious,
just lets the ball
my
gosh,
over his head, and he just watched it bounce over his head with people. I was just like, wow, okay, right. So for me, it's his decision. It's the mental side of the game, which you can't really teach that well compared to skills. Right? It's a small adaptation. That for me is why it's just beneficial if he goes right in the summer. But that's why I don't think he went now.
Well, the one for me that I can't believe we weren't all over is Jamal Lascelles, who is going to Leicester. They're waiting to announce it. Why on earth have we not tried to get Jamal Lascelles back? Because he doesn't even have to take up a squad place in the Europa.
Free registration.
Academy.
Free registration, yeah, I know.
And he ticks the boxes of everything we're talking about. An experienced Premier League defender, obviously came through our academy, knows the club. So why did we not turn around to him and say, come back to Forest, you can play some Europa football, and so on? I mean, I'd much rather have Jamal Lascelles coming off my bench than Morato. I just think it's a no-brainer, Raf. I just can't get my head around why, if he's available, we haven't gone for him.
No, there are a couple out there that were floating out there where I was going, this just really makes sense, and I don't know why we don't do it. That was one when I saw the fact that he'd got released a couple of days ago, and it seemed like a really good idea. By the way, there are a few. We're not in the clear from us doing a Forest still, by the way, because there are players like Raheem Sterling still floating around on free that we could completely scupper our window and just smash our wage bill for no apparent reason and bring in toxicity into the dressing room and make harsh decisions about who has to then be dropped out of squads just because we can't leave it alone, basically.
Okay, I think we'll end things there. It's been an interesting day, but not quite as frenetic and frantic as it can usually be as a Nottingham Forest fan. Thank you very much for those of you joining in with the live and watching along. If you're listening later on a podcast somewhere, thank you very much for doing so. Please hit like and subscribe if you can, and reviews on your podcast platform if you feel like getting your wordsmithery out. That will be fantastic as well. We'll be back to preview the Leeds game. I think we're going to be doing that on Wednesday. What are we on now? We're on Monday, aren't we? The weeks are going very quickly. Raf, any closing thoughts you want to give us on the window and on Forest going into this last 14, 15 games in the Premier League?
Right, yep. For me, sometimes less is more. And stability was the one major signing that we had last season that helped us get to where we got to. So, yes, there might be some frustration, but secretly, this might be a really, really good thing.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I think you're right about that. Just remember that actually it is going to be Wednesday. It's going to be Raf with us, and Premier Elliot is coming on to join us, Richard and I, for the preview of the Leeds game. Big game that will be. Okay, I'm going to go and have a glass of something because my throat is a little bit dry. Come on, you Reds.
Come join Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.